Hello and welcome to the Indie Bandits podcast and stream. We are back after a really long hiatus because some mad shit's been going down and we've been busy, but we're back to tell you about how and why we've been busy. Joe here. I'm joined by fellow bandit Jimmy.
Hello.
All right, Jim. We hung out in real life and we're not just people behind screens and Twitter accounts, X
We
accounts.
did.
Sorry, I need to be.
We
It's
did.
We've waited until the middle of summer here in Spain to, well, for me at least, to get back on the mics and that. And it is warm, and I'm very sweaty and need a beer.
It is not quite as warm here, surprisingly.
Fortunately, I have a
Well, it's
beer.
actually not. It's not too bad though. This last week's actually been pretty good.
Andy's got an aurora borealis. Is it
Oh, that was
borealis?
epic. That.
Yeah,
Yeah.
apparently it came down to here, but we couldn't see it where I was, and I don't have a
Uh,
car, so I couldn't drive out to find somewhere for it, which was a bit of a gutter.
yeah, that was a nice little freebie, little surprise.
Yeah, I saw all the memes and also just every social media feed was full of it. So I
Yeah.
almost feel that I got to live the experience vicariously through all my feeds.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, it's nice, but I still live in the south of Spain, so I'll take this win, Britain. Yeah, so talking about astrological events, the stars aligned, and we got together in real life, which is why I felt it was time maybe to just kind of like unearth the zombie corpse of the podcast and do a cheeky stream and talk about it. You came over here to my stomping ground, Malaga,
hmm
and uh, obviously you've been over here before and you've visited, and obviously you and your wife have come over and all that kind of crack on. But this time it was your indie bandits reason.
It
Uh,
was. It was a business trip.
it
I
was
marked it down. I marked it down as a business trip when I got the questionnaire through from Jet2 or Ryanair, whichever one it was.
you did,
I put it as business trip. I was like, yeah, that's right.
and you got it at the what they called the border control. That's at the they were like you're traveling for
Oh,
business or pleasure. Then you did your best Oscar Wilde impression, not the one off Ricky Gervais's Extras done by Les Dennis.
yeah, no, that's the one I did. Yeah.
But yeah, so Jimmy came over, and the reason both of us were in the same place is because we were one, we'd promised ourselves that this year we'd try to get out and be more present, not in a kind of meditative sense, but more present in the indie games community in real life rather than just just being behind our computers and tweeting and running the community. We wanted to get out there and meet real devs,
Yep.
and I saw that the local game jam community here in Malaga was hosting, and when we get into it later, uh, this will be quite surprising, but their first instance of this event, called Guadalindie. Not to get too much into it, but there's like it's a whole thing about it's a nice Spanish pun. That's why it's called Guadalindie. But anyway, the indie part is the important one for us here. So we worked out some dates. We looked at some very expensive flights, decided against them, shifted things slightly around, which obviously didn't work as ideally as we would have liked to, but it meant that Jimmy could come over and that we could both attend the event. And even better for us, obviously, it's a very it's not a humble brag, is it? It's an obnoxious brag, I guess. But we were
It's
both
just
very
brag.
excited. We're just bragging, just bragging. But we're very excited
Brag.
because we uh, we applied for press passes to this event, and we're given them. We would have paid to attend the event anyway, but it was just something that we thought we'd chance because that was the capacity we wanted to attend the event in anyway.
Yeah.
So we applied for the press passes and we were given them, and I believe it was Luthia at the event who I was speaking to, sorting the stuff out. So that was great.
hmm
So just obviously massive thanks to everyone involved because again in the run up, everybody was super helpful as well. Just because we're new to this, not really sure what we were supposed to do and where to go, and getting our passes sorted so that we could get into the event. But firstly, Jimmy arrived a few days before the event. This is due to those not dodgy flights, cheaper flights. Let's put it.
Randomly expensive flights that
Yeah,
we couldn't take on. They were just like crazy price. But yeah, it turned out that was a bank holiday weekend, though. I think that's what it
it
was.
was. It was the Labor Day. It's called in the US. It's the
Uh,
Workers' Day here in Spain and many other places. It They don't shift them to Mondays like they do in the UK. So the Wednesday was the bank holiday here in Spain, and the flights around that time were obnoxiously expensive. So by coming like a day or two earlier and having to leave sadly on the second day of the event, uh, was like the only way we could get Jimmy over and still like not feel stupid about the amount of money we couldn't dip into the minuscule indie bandits coffers for such frivolities. As
no,
nice
it would have.
as
Yeah,
we wouldn't have felt
we
good
were
about it.
doing it the other way. Obviously, especially with the press pass thing, it turned out that the day we did go was like the professional day anyway, and that was so that was actually the best day to go. Because obviously the day after was the open day for everybody. It would have been a lot harder to get the footage we did and chat to as many people as we did had there been hundreds more people in that room
Yeah,
playing games. So it turned out the day we went was probably the best day anyway.
absolutely. But before then, I do want to give a shout out because we did visit, and I've been waiting a long time to visit it. That I don't know if it's called OXO. I've only seen it written down. I don't want to call it the OXO Museum because British
That's
listeners
in
are going to
London.
be like, "What the hell are you on about?" Uh,
Oxo Tower in London as well, isn't there?
maybe, but for those of you gonna say who like stock uh, or gravy, is OXO gravy or stock or both?
I'm not sure of the
The
vast
technicalities.
panoply of items that Oxo produces.
Bouillon. But yeah, so there's a video game museum in the center of Malaga that's been open for not too long, but I think a year or so, and I've been waiting for ages to go to it. And I always said if we went or if I was able to go down, I'd want to film some stuff that we could share. And armed with the new cameras we've got for this very reason, Jimmy was over. We didn't actually look into getting press passes for this or anything like that. We didn't. We were like, don't push your luck. We'll just buy some tickets and go to the place. But yeah, we went.
Yeah,
It's three
it's good.
floors. Yeah, 3 floors of like video games. It's really cool. So you have like was it? It's like past, present, and future, isn't it? And then
Yeah, and it's should be. It's not specifically indie as you've said, as you know, written down
mm,
there, but like it's a celebration of video games, all video games through the ages, basically, and it's with one of the floors. Does that change every so
I
often? You
think
have the
that's a
Final
temporary
Fantasy
exhibit.
exhibition.
Yeah, that was
Yeah, so
cool.
like that'll change all the time, but that was cool. Yeah,
But also, I'd hasten to add, uh, all video games were indie at the start. So
yeah,
let's keep that in mind because it's kind of set in a past, present, future idea, isn't it? That's the main. The three floors are like you see the like history of video gaming. You see current video gaming. There's like a kind of like arcade level. Obviously, you've paid to get in. It's all free. You play the games as much as you want. They're not like asking for quarters or coins, to play these things. And then there's a floor of like experimental stuff and like what is it called? I'm like playing Civ, but future tech, like different things. There's some really interesting stuff, which again is quite indie. There was that really cool one where you had the joystick that was just forwards and
with the
wiggled,
light.
and the light just ran along like an LED light strip, and that was the game, and it was so like simple and deconstructed and beautiful. It was really fun, and the one with the topography where you messed
Yeah,
around with
with the
this.
sand pit basically, or gravel pit, whatever it was. Like a
That was Wu Tang, wasn't it? Travel Pit.
that's what they were referencing was that game. when he said "check out my gravel pit" or whatever the line is in the song, that's
He
what
was
he
like,
meant. He had this
it
like
was like
future topography game.
augmented reality
Yeah,
topography, yeah, where you play
yeah.
with a gravel pit, and it
The meaning
basically
of that song was like grossly misinterpreted.
but yeah, that was cool, and it like projected the map onto it. So if you raised the area of the gravel, like the top of it would become like mountains and volcanoes, and if you dug into it, it would like fill it with water on the projector. So it was
Yeah. That line there you've just said, Joe, is almost verbatim from the second chorus of Gravel Pit by Wu Tang.
if you raise it up, it's it becomes volcanoes. Look at my volcanoes and my deep trenches.
Yeah,
That Razaz line.
I don't know.
But yeah,
I'm
so
not. I'm not too clued up.
just the video game. I recommend
Just the
it.
video game.
The Wu
Yeah.
Tang fighting game from like the PlayStation
It
One era.
it comes well. Yeah, but I'm talking specific about the Gravel Pits. I mean, if it's good enough for Wu Tang, it's good enough for me. We had a good time playing it, so it's a good recommendation from them.
Hi. So yeah, and there was loads of stuff in like a VR slide roller coaster thing, and you know all this other stuff. And we were pretty good at the big. It wasn't bongos. I forget the name of it. The Japanese drum.
Oh yeah, that was good. That was like one of the most quintessential. You know when like you watch like cartoons when they are representing, I guess, like anime type culture or something, and you know they might be making a joke or like highlighting the fact that like Westerners might just get totally lost in that world. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like Japanese TV and that type of thing. That game felt very much like that. It was like it would be
exoticism.
how I'd imagine it was very exaggerated, wasn't it? And it was good fun.
But yeah, so we went along to that, got some footage. We've got a little hype reel of that. Thinking maybe share that with the patrons, give them a little treat, show them around, let them live vicariously as if we were some kind of influencers.
I know.
Living that baller life, 3 minutes walk from where I live.
Yes, I refuse to ever say that. Even if we had a following of millions, it would be a word that would make me still throw up in my mouth. So no
Aye.
thanks.
Yeah, we also there was also a local feria on which we got to attend, which is always fun. My favorite, the international food and
Yeah,
drink
that was good.
feria
Yeah,
down the road that we got to pop along to afterwards. This was it occurs over this bank holiday weekend as well, and it's very popular. So we've got to try lots of international food and drink. And obviously, for you, Jimmy, you also got to try lots of Spanish food and drink.
yeah,
Obviously, I get to have every day, lucky me. But
yeah.
you get to enjoy it, and very
It was good.
lactose intolerant friendly as well, with a lot of non-cows
Extremely.
cheeses and stuff like that.
Yep. I will though. We need to have a shout out here for how disappointing the service was in the Belgian tent. We went in there with
Oh,
high hopes, Joe.
shots fired at the Belgians. Yeah,
We
they
went
were
in
not
there with
on
high
it.
hopes. There
They were
weren't.
they had 300 beers and only like one barman working the bar, and wasn't doing loops. Like call it like
No,
bartending 101. But if you've got a really busy
had
bar,
his plot, didn't he?
you can't zonal defend in like
No, it was a poor show.
you've got to be doing loops of the whole bar so that you're constantly like a bit like that video game Tapper, you know, where you're going up the various bars and slinging the beers down at the end to keep the
Mm.
like patrons from getting all the way up to it. But yeah,
Yeah, it was the only one we went in and came out having not either had something like bought
to eat or
something
drink. Yeah,
or enjoyed something. Like I don't think we got anything from the Mexican tent, but there was an epic show in there. So
yeah, we did. We got the like strawberry champagne. Got the pitcher of strawberry champagne.
no, that was brought in from another one.
Oh, that was from the Japanese one. Yeah, never mind, never mind.
Yeah, yeah, that was a picture brought in from the Japanese one. So
You
we
could have
didn't
got
actually buy anything in
you
the
could have
Mexican tent.
enjoyed that 10 seconds of tequila that the entertainer downed
Oh
in
my
the
god, yeah, yeah, yeah.
incredible. That guy, I thought he was going to collapse
That
there
was a
on
good
stage, and
show.
then he just
I know.
mashed out another mariachi song. It was amazing. Anyway,
Just about there. That
fun to
was
be
good.
had, but that was 2 days before the event by design. We could have went the following day, but we're responsible adults and we're not going to repeat the same thing. Though would have loved to have been able on our schedules to have also attended the Guadalindie after party, which we weren't able to do either.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
But yeah, so this brings us to the actual event itself, and obviously I'm going to try and explain this for people who don't know Malaga or maybe don't know Spain, but because of like annual ferias in Spain, they like they always translate it as fairs. It's not quite the same, but like the one we went to, there is often a fairground, with rides and stuff, and then there's also the casetas and the buildings and like the bars and stuff like that that make up the like feria experience. And these are so big in Spain that they're all like distinct areas in many towns for them.
Mhm.
Like the one we attended, which was outside of Malaga, only like a 45-minute train outside, but that was outside of Malaga. That was in their specific feria grounds. The event we were attending for Guadalindie was also that was in Malaga's own feria grounds. It was in a building right next to it. If we'd walked past that building, we would have seen the Malaga equivalent to what we'd attended, which is a little bit bigger. But it's a nice big building, hosts a lot of different things, and excellent venue. Dead easy to get to. I'm gonna
It was nice. It was a nice
huge
big
kudos.
open, that cool central bit with like open air central point in the venue as well, which was nice. And yeah, it was a nice place. It was a good place for the event.
Great place for the event. I'd also add that it's dead easy to get to. So if anyone's like interested in like attending like subsequent years, uh, because it's directly on the main like commuter train line in and out of Malaga and to and from the airport. The line that there's only two of these commuter lines in Malaga, but the line that it's on is the line that's like a 10-minute train journey from the airport to the city centre and is the middle stop between those 2 points. And like I think it's if you were to arrive in Malaga by train, you'd also be like I think it's to get this right. I think it is the stop before the train station. So it's city centre, main train station for like national trains. Then the stop Guadalindie was at. Then there's two more stops and it's the airport. So like obviously anyone like coming in to see it, you're laughing, like whether you stay in Malaga or down the coast.
Yeah,
So
very easy to access. Yeah.
yeah, so like amazingly easy to access. These trains are also like super cheap, or if you're a resident, they're like kind of free at the minute. But don't know if that's going to be the case next year. But just so people know, so the venue was great, like easy to get to, and only maybe uh after having been to like an international food and drinks festival, gonna have to say the food was a bit of a letdown. That was
Yeah.
more of a case because it was just a standard like venue there. Like it
Yeah.
happens the
It's just the location's own food, wasn't it? There
catering.
was
Yeah,
no
yeah.
like there was no special catering brought in, but we did find a good restaurant just down the street anyway.
Yeah, and I think a few other attendees popped to this as well. It wasn't something we wanted to have to like head out and go to, but because Jimmy's a very awkward and picky eater, because apparently his body hates processing dairy products. No, it was it was fine for like grabbing a coffee and getting a drink, but when it came time to actually eat, and then obviously with the event being really well attended, um,
Yeah.
it kind of all got and I know this, and I'm stupid for doing it, but there's one thing that happens like clockwork in Spain, and it's when people eat. Spain is very like relaxed in many ways in terms of timeliness. There's a very different culture across Europe and around the world on how you deal with time, and it's not about like being punctual. It's about how you understand time, and the understanding of time is more flexible, especially around the Mediterranean. So when people say a time, they don't really mean the time and stuff like that. But when it comes time to eat, that seems to be much stricter, and you can't like mess around with that. Like lunchtime is lunchtime, and it's always going to
Mm.
happen. And people are not going to like bend that at all. Like you can't say I was really busy, so I didn't have my lunch until 5 o'clock, or conversely, I was really hungry, so I had dinner at 5 o'clock. Like that shit don't fly in Spain, and that became abundantly apparent when we went to eat in the venue, and we're like, right. Not only do they not have stuff that not really have stuff that's going to be suitable, and they've just ran out of it because it's mega busy because everyone all went for lunch at the same time, like us, foolishly. Um, yeah, we had to dip out and go for lunch in the neighboring area, like others had done as well. But I think that's not a problem of the organizers at all. That's just venues are like that. If we'd known, next year we'd probably even like maybe bring something if we were going to plan on being there like every minute of the entire day, and it's a long day, then we'd probably pack our own stuff as well,
Yeah.
just in case, or just immediately go to uh like a place just outside the venue.
Yeah, I think if they were probably to take when they look at like what they could learn from for the following year. I mean, I imagine it got busy over the lunch with the day that we went. I imagine if there was the following day when lots more people turned up for being there to play the games and they weren't necessarily there or interested about it in a professional capacity, I would imagine it got very, very busy there, with a lot of people wanting a sandwich or a hot dog or whatever they were serving. Um, so it might be, if they were to do it in subsequent years, to maybe put a bit more thinking into the catering side of things, so people won't have to go off site to go get something to eat.
Even chuck some food trucks in if you can
Yeah,
find
yeah,
people in there.
definitely.
It's
Like
like someone, there's a
street
huge
stuff. Yeah,
space out the front of that venue that I don't know what the rules and laws are, but I know that the not directly outside the venue, but in the feria grounds adjacent, that place
mm,
is full of food trucks and fairground rides for like a week of the year, like
mm.
with like I don't know, it's hundreds of thousands of people, but it's like stupid numbers of people. So like the capacity is there, and there's probably some way to have like a food truck pull up and just do like whatever, hot dogs, bao buns. You could have a few of them, depending on numbers. I don't know how it works and whether I've not planned one of these, so I don't want to like say like just do this. But I've been to events where they do have these kinds of things where you just pop outside and there's like a van selling hot dogs. I mean, like food trucks are pretty advanced now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's you can get anything out of a truck now. So to be thought about.
yeah, yeah. Just small improvements.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel we got sidetracked on the food thing. It's like I was like, I'm sure I wasn't going to go off on one about this, but now I feel like I sort of have. So let's bring it back to the highlights and the good points, because we like you said, the venue was really good. I think the layout was great. We were too busy filming to attend the like the conference talks. That was
But
a
they were well attended.
Yeah. No, I mean not just the
Oh,
talk
across the
talks.
way,
The
yes,
across
I
the
got
way
you.
there was the so they had constant talks going on in the space, which was nice because you could dip in and out of them. We did like eavesdrop a few of them, but they also had the actual like conferences across the courtyard where the food was that you could sit in. And obviously, like we would have liked to have, in an ideal world, we would have attended all the talks and all the conferences, whatever you want to call them, or both sets of talks. But obviously, they're happening simultaneously. So I believe they were streamed. So I might go back and watch a few of those on their Twitch. But yeah, so like the layout the layout was good. Like it didn't feel like it just kind of made sense to me. Like as you walked around it, everything was easy to find. Like you were never
Yep.
lost. Everything was amazingly like signposted, and just seemed, like I said, this was the first time this had happened. So like massive kudos to them for like putting it on, and for it seemingly, maybe if we'd asked them like 10 minutes before they opened the doors if everything had been going smoothly, they might have said no. But for us who attended it, was amazingly amazingly organized. It seemed.
Yeah, yeah, no, it was. I think they did a really good job. There was no like bottlenecks for anyone walking around. The the talks are well attended in the main hall. At least, as you said, we didn't get to see the conferences. Maybe that's something to look at. I wonder if like the attendance in the conference hall was as good, because it felt like there were sort of conflicting. Like you could only do one or the other. So there's maybe that to look at. But
Yeah,
yeah, for the
you'd
most
have to
part,
plan your day out beforehand, wouldn't you? Like
you
that's
do,
kind of what we did. We saw what was on. There was one talk that I think got cancelled right at the end, like
which was
in
frustratingly the one that we
the one we were
were
desperate
looking
to go
to.
see. But
Uh,
we'll look into that. I might have just dreamt it, but it felt like it was something we were really interested in. But anyway, yeah. So should we get on to the the main the main event? The main event, the games
yeah,
themselves.
talk
Some of
through
the
a couple
stuff
of the
we
some of the games.
as we drove around. I mean, this is going to mean nothing to people, especially not for podcast listeners, but for anyone watching the video, got me cheeky notepad that we walked around with all day. Was our list of everything we wanted to film and all the shots we wanted to get, and we went through it. We went meticulously through it to try and get as much footage. We've got stupid amounts of footage to go through, which is good. Better having more than less. But let's have a look at the games, because we saw a few games. We didn't see them all. There was like, I mean, we saw them all. We walked past them and saw them. We did like several loops of the event throughout the day, but we obviously didn't get to play every game we wanted to, or even just like watch every game we wanted to see being played. But I've got a list here of the ones that we did see, and most of the ones we stood and watched and or played. I thought, and I've put them
Yeah,
hopefully to like jog our memory. I've got them here in the order that we saw them, thanks to that like the notepad with all the shots. We've got the shot order and the times we took the shots, so we can line up the footage with where and when they were taken, and done. They've all been filed. All that footage is like in appropriate folders, so we know what's of what, etc. I've got them in order, so maybe we'll jump on at the first one, Jimmy. We
well, before we jump into it,
go
I
for it.
think we should. I just want to point out that the level of like polish and quality that was on display at this
Mm.
event was extremely high. Like there wasn't a game there that didn't look great in its own way. So like that was really cool to see so many indie developers at the event. First of all, but then secondly, just to see sort of the level of quality, the consistent level of quality that we find from the developers in this community as well. And it was nice to see it in real life, because the only time we really get to see it is on social channels or through the community. Seeing it face to face and getting a chat with the devs was really good.
Yeah, it was a bit of a feast for the eyes, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I
it
think
was.
we got in and we were like, and obviously this is not like me trying to like insult the community we see online, but obviously a lot more stuff is work in progress, and that's not
Yeah,
to say that these games aren't work in progress. A lot of them are not out yet, but obviously on socials we get to see some like very early stuff, which is probably like before the stage they want to exhibit it at a conference. So I totally get that, but also it was kind of astonishing how like how good it looked and how much better it looked in the flesh. I don't know if that I
yeah,
know it's a game and it seems stupid to kind of say that, but when you constantly see things on socials, maybe they don't like maybe it doesn't like jump out as much because it's the same screen that you look at everything on. So by comparison, but when you see it like in the real world, like you're like all of these games looked finished. If that makes sense, that was the big thing
yeah. They
that got
did.
me.
Yeah. They just it was all round. It was very impressive.
And
Um,
a lot of them weren't finished. Like when we spoke
no,
to the
no,
devs, they were like, "Oh, this isn't coming out for like 6 9 months," and I'm like, it looks great now. I mean, obviously, playability is another thing, but just on like first impressions, everything looked amazing from like the in-game footage we were seeing when we were playing them, when we were watching them, but also like the key art that they all had on their standees. Like everything, like all the marketing materials were also really polished. Like like no notes.
Yeah, it was yeah, I say all round really impressed.
Yeah. So should we jump in the first one we had a,
Yeah,
a
yeah,
look at? I played this one, I remember.
yeah.
Mainly because you wanted to try and get me into something kind of scary because
Oh, we
well,
didn't
you
pick the
thought
right one. There
we
was
didn't, we should have, but I am not good with scary games, and this one looked remotely scary. It wasn't. It was more atmospheric than scary. It's not an
yeah,
out and out horror game,
not at all.
but it was kind of it looked kind of creepy. So Jimmy sat me down. I had a play of it. You were chatting to the dev whilst I was playing it. It's called Evolution
Yeah,
from the Little Light. Easy to
very cool looking game.
yeah, you'll spot it quite easily because it had you playing as like an eyeball slash tadpole kind of thing. If you check it out,
Yeah,
it's made by Mysterious Hat is the name of the devs, and it's kind of like it's a 2D. You're sort of piloting this eye and solving puzzles, and it's very like hands off in its approach. Like there's no tool tips or cues telling you what to do, and the audio design does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. It like there's a lot of audio cues like indicating whether you've done something right or not. And obviously we only played like 5-10 minutes of it on the conference floor, I guess. That the terminology, I don't know. But
yeah.
but yeah, really really impressed with it. Really, I mean, the audio was amazing. You didn't get to see this because I had the headphones on and I was playing and you were chatting to the devs. But the sound, like from this, was really. I think you were chatting to the audio guy, if I'm not mistaken. Is this these the guys? Ah, terrible with names. Were you chatting with the audio designer and one of the devs? I think there was two of them.
The dev mainly, and then I spoke with the audio designer. I think after you finished playing.
Right.
Um, but yeah, no, they were. It was interesting for like the just to chat about what kind of the experience they'd had putting the game together, and just to go over like some of their choices for the aesthetics of it because it's got a really cool look. So yeah, I'd urge you all to kind of to Google it, have a look for it because
Yeah.
it was a very nice looking game, and
I think
it
that's what
looked
drew
like
it to it, didn't it?
it looked like it played well. I mean, I know you said there's obviously some polish to sort out, but in terms of like the motion of it and kind of how it played out from my perspective, watching you play, it looked like it was not
Yeah.
relaxed, but you know what I mean, like quite as you said, a laid back type of experience, which was quite nice.
Yeah, like I was saying, it was very atmospheric in terms of visuals and audio.
Mm.
Was having a good play of that, and just to further our point about how good the games looked, it's got a release date of 2025. So yeah, it's it looks this good with like almost at least 6 or 7 months to go the dev process. So
Yeah,
yeah, go check it out. Evolution from the Little Light. The next one, Temtem Swarm. This is the one you had a go with this, didn't you? I believe
I
I
did
was.
have a go with this. Yeah, yeah, this was good fun, despite the fact that like you're essentially running around a map trying to defeat like an endless horde of enemies that are just constantly spawning and attacking you. All of the attacks that your character does are sort of automatic.
Mm-hmm.
You're basically running around trying to stay alive, defeat the enemies, get health, to restore your health and pick up um, bonuses
Upgrades,
because
isn't it?
as you defeat
Perks.
more and more enemies and pick up the little like light orbs that they leave behind, you get to increase your perks and various different things. It looks great. It was actually quite a chilled out game for the hectic stuff that was going on the screen, because you didn't have to like sit there mashing the keyboard. So it was actually quite nice to sort of run around. Almost you could take in. I think the benefit of that was you could take in the visuals. I think if there's too much micromanagement of the game, sometimes you can lose that because you're concentrating so much on what it is you're doing that you can't actually fully enjoy the experience, you know? Whereas this one was more, actually, it's fairly simple how to run around and control this thing. So you were able to enjoy a little bit more of the little design details that were put in there, which I quite enjoyed.
Yeah, it looked like you didn't have to constantly look at like a menu bar. And I saw like an upgrade menu popping up in a kind of like way to break up the play every time you said, is that when you pick up the orbs or whatever, you pick up an
Yeah,
upgrade, and that's when you kind of like in the gameplay loop, that was your like your respite or respite, however you want to put it.
that bit reminded me very much of Hades. You know, as you
Mm,
go through a run on Hades, you get to the point where you upgrade. You know, you can choose which kind of god to worship to get the benefits as you go through.
that was it.
It it was kind of, it had a very similar feel to that, whereby you know you picked certain abilities, and then you could, every time you upgraded, you could choose to upgrade those abilities or pick a new ability, and you know, every time you upgraded it, the ability got stronger, obviously, and yeah, it was cool. I enjoyed it. That's the sort of game you could easily jump in and out of and have like a quick session, because it looked cool. There was a lot going on, but you didn't necessarily have to do a huge amount, so it made it feel like quite chilled to play,
It was more about
which
the
I like.
decisions, right? Like the upgrade
Yes,
decisions.
the sort of strategic, how you're going to build as you upgrade. And I'm sure there's a lot more nuance to how to play the game as well. But obviously, we only played it for 15 minutes. It's, you can't really get into that. But yeah, I liked what I saw.
Add that it's up to 3 player co-op as well, so
Hmm.
you can obviously then the strategy plays an even greater role, I imagine,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
as players choose to specialize, I guess, or create certain kind of builds that complement one another.
Hmm.
That was yes, that was Temtem Swarm. That was developed by Kramer and GG Tech Studios. I think it was GG Tech who were there representing the game because they had a few stands, didn't they? I think they had 3 or 4 in a row.
Yeah,
Those 4 in that on that stretch, I think were all them. So good representation from them. Uh,
definitely.
so yeah, check out Temtem Swarm. That's available on Steam. Release date or tentative release date is the third quarter of this year. So that one was fairly close to completion. I remember talking to some of the devs about that as well. So nervous, a lot of very short fingernails, I think, on that dev team. But yeah, they seemed quite happy with what they had, and they were kind of enjoying their time there at Guadalindie to also get some cheeky play testing done as well. I think there were some questions that wouldn't have been able to be answered by like some in-house QA. It's fun to obviously show your game to just lots of different players and see how they play it, and then ultimately break it.
Yeah,
Yeah, check out Temtem Swarm on Steam. The next one, this is one we both played. Uh,
room battle.
Room Battle. The emphasis on Roomba part of it. It's like a competitive. What I want to say it is it's halfway between a competitive Overcooked
Hmm.
and the battle mode on Mario Kart on the Mario
Yeah,
Kart games. So
yeah,
each of you pilots a sort of a robotic vacuum cleaner, because I don't think we could you can use the proper names, but they've cleverly the game name gives it away anyway. We played it just us two. It's for up to 6 players. If you've seen the memes, it is one of these robotic vacuum cleaners with a knife on the front and balloons on the back. And your job is to pilot them around a room. It's like from a top down 3D view. And you're trying to pop the balloons on the back of your opponent. And this is really cleverly designed because if you there's a dash function in it which is very reminiscent of Overcooked, and also the game feel when you collide into one another. It has that kind of like Overcooked style clack, when the two vacuum
yeah,
cleaners come
yeah,
together. But the
yeah.
thing is, it
The
only
dash was there. Yeah,
yeah, that's it. When the two dash into each other, they both kind of get stunned. I imagine if you have a third player, that's your moment to strike when the two
yeah,
people have kind of like parried one another. But the thing is, you'd think, oh well, if it's like one on one, you could just like constantly like face each other. But they've quite cleverly, and we only worked this out a round or two into it, that the environment also plays a role, and like certain rooms
Yeah,
have like cacti in them that you can. Obviously, if you get dunched into a cactus, then a balloon gets popped, kind of thing. And there's power ups and stuff like that. That gives you like 3 or 5 knives and stuff like that, or like rains little cactus plants and stuff like that. I think there was all sorts. We only had a few rounds of it. I won, if I recall. I can't remember. It's
I think so. Yeah,
I just
yeah, it
wanted
was.
to drop that in there.
Yeah,
Not
no, it was.
important.
I think the best thing about the that was that, like, yeah, that you could have a lot of fun with that. Like, if you had a group of, did you
That is
say
just a
it was up
game
to
night
6? Did
game.
you say
Up to 6 players. Yeah, yeah.
6? Yeah, and like the fact that, because yeah, that I think right up until it happened, my thinking was, well, yeah, if you're going to have two players and they're just going to charge at each other, so no one can get the balloon, like, how do you get past that? But as you've said, the environment
Environment
playing
and
a
power
part
ups
in it,
came
and you
straight
can,
into it, didn't it?
yeah, you could boost the size of the environment with a power up, and like that makes it okay. Well, now you can do that. It just makes it a lot more interesting. And if you add 3, 4, 5 players, the dynamic just gets even more interesting.
Yeah, that's this
Simple
is
concept, but good fun.
genius. Yeah, yeah. Probably. I mean, I'll revisit this opinion as we go through some of the others. But it was one of my standout games of the event. I really like one of the most enjoyable ones I played. Not that we're ranking them, but it would be. I think it would be up there. Take home a medal or a prize.
Yeah,
Trying to think of a
yeah,
better
that
one.
was.
But yeah. So this was. But we obviously again we like these kind of games. Like then we saw it, we're like we're having a go with this. And at the moment, it's there's an early build that the devs made whilst they were still in uni on itch. You just look for if you look if you look on itch for Room Battle by Dust Games, you can find their like university build. I'm not quite sure. I wasn't able to find another version of it, but I'm assuming that they're going to keep working on it and then have like a full. I mean, it'd be foolish for them not to commercialize this.
Yes,
Like that
definitely. I
game
think
had
that
so much. That game has so much potential. I mean, I'm saying potential as if like it's not good now. It's good now. Like it has so
yeah,
much commercial potential. Like this is a game that should be on sale somewhere. Even as
yeah,
is, like as
definitely.
we
Yeah,
played it, like didn't play it for long enough to know like what the price point would be or whatever. But it's definitely a game that should be on sale somewhere and you'd buy. Like obviously
yeah,
you'd
yeah.
scale the
It was
price
good fun.
point to how complete it is and how fleshed out it is. But even as is, like for what we played, I'd throw a few quid on that now. Like
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That was
obviously,
good.
I'd pay more if I found out there's more, but obviously we played it for like 5-10 minutes, few rounds.
Yeah.
Great game. Yeah, look for Room Battle by Dust Games. Oh, and that's on itch.io. No release date penned at the moment.
Hmm.
Our next game I've listed here is one that I don't think either of us got to play, but I did really want to play it, and I believe there's a demo available that I'm thinking maybe we stream one night or something. It's on here. Great. I mean, wanna commend the devs for just having like an amazing presence at the event. And I mean, you couldn't miss these guys. They were the ones in the ponchos. This is I'm
Yeah, they
talking.
they they figured out their marketing before they went. It was good.
They did. This is talking about Hellfire Poncho, which is a roguelike bullet hell. Um, the devs are called Juegos Asados. We're able to find them on X, Twitter. Follow them. You can find the game and a demo build on itch. Look for that. We didn't get to obviously sit down and play it, but that's probably because of how popular the game was. It seemed like a lot of people were playing it um, whilst we were there, and
Yeah, it was impossible to get around and play everything.
obviously I'm gonna commend all the devs who were at the show for being so lovely. And I'm those press passes, I'm fairly certain made them uh, jumped us a few queues when not intentionally. We weren't being absolute divas at this thing, but I think there were a few times we were chatting to people and they were like, "Oh, just these guys are just players. Please jump in front of them." And we're like, "No, no, don't, please don't, like, don't push us in front of them.
We're not going to jump in. Like
Like,
we'll
don't worry,
play, but like,
we've got time. We'll
yeah,
wait. I'll just, you know, we need some footage anyway, so let us just get some footage of the game being played. We don't, you know, we're here to get footage. We're not, you know, we'd like to play the games in an ideal world. There'd be an alternative reality version of us where, alternative universe, sorry, where we're just we get to play all the games, and we weren't
yeah,
there for getting like content. But yeah, this is one that looked great, looked really fun to play. Hoping to get some time put aside to play at least the demo build of this, and hopefully stream it. I'd like to really go through of all these games that we and the ones we didn't get to play or see. I'd like to, you know, not that I'm going to get through and stream 60 odd games, but you know, I can dream, can't I?
hmm
Yeah, go check out Hellfire Poncho on itch.io by Juegos Asados. Roast, kind of like roast games, grilled games, whatever. Uh, the next one was another multiplayer one. We were kind of looking out for these, weren't we? Because it was kind of we've got some nice footage of these as well. Because we've got the footage of both
yeah,
of us. We've got footage on us of the two of us playing the game, and also of the game itself. So these should make some nice videos to just show off how fun they are. Because I think that's important, especially if you've got like multiplayer games and like couch multiplayer as well. I think it's important to show like people genuinely like playing it and having fun. It's all well and good when you do it for like an you know for an ad and you get like actors in and have people playing it. But I think if you're at a show and exhibiting these kind of games, try and film everyone who has a go.
yeah.
So the next
It was,
one, this is
yeah,
there you
this one
go.
had a very kind of like Armored Core feel to it, didn't it? Like build your own mech and then fight some like
I'm all about
multiplayer.
them mechs.
I think the guy said there was a single player with the like full story and stuff, which involved all the different like the pilots and whatnot, didn't he? But
Yes,
we just
I
obviously
think in a
played
more
the
of a I think that was in more of a. It felt like it was a kind of like Mortal Kombat Street Fighter thing, you know, where you like play a character, play against a character, beat them, get that
mm,
story kind of thing. Obviously didn't play, and this is just me theorizing on how it is. This is Battle
but we
Call
we just
Robots,
played the
by the way,
multiplayer.
by
Yeah, Battle
Yellowfall
Core
Games.
robots. Yeah.
Um,
And it was good fun. We I think even the dev admitted there's it's like you'd like to they're going to
more
add a lot more
balance.
to it. Yeah, and certainly more balance. Yeah, but because I think that's probably the hardest thing to do in a game like this is to make sure that all the builds, you don't just find the one that you can basically break the game with. Um, and yeah, it was good fun. I enjoyed it. It wasn't kind of. I think sometimes when you get fighting games, it can feel a bit like overwhelming if you don't know like the moves or kind of um you're not
Builds
so
or
good at
the
maybe or hitting various combinations or whatever. You might not that might not be something you're good at, but this one didn't feel like that. This one felt like you could pretty much just jump into it and have a go, and it was quite easy to pick up. Still,
this
obviously, strategy and nuance to it, as there always is with all games. But this one felt it was good fun, wasn't it? I like the visual style of it as well.
it reminded me a lot, and this is showing my age, of that game, the Unholy War, which we used to play at my nan's house on the
Yeah, yeah,
PlayStation.
yeah,
This kind of like top-down arena, like platformer fighter game.
yeah. Yeah.
It was made apparently.
Oh my god,
I've
that
looked it up. It was
old gamer.
it was developed by Toys for Bob and published by Eidos. I forget how you pronounce this. Right on. But the game came with a demo of Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver, and I'm telling you, buying that game is definitely how I discovered Soul Reaver.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, I remember playing that demo, which I don't even think was any part of the actual Soul Reaver game. I was always hoping to get to like that part that I played in the demo, but I think they built like a special environment simply for the demo. Answers on a postcard if you actually know about the about the 1998 Soul Reaver demo that came with the Unholy War and out.
I remember that game.
Yeah, but now that you remember it, it was
Yeah,
totally
no,
like Battle
yeah,
Call Robots.
it
Yeah,
was.
like
Yeah,
same kind of thing. You didn't have builds. Instead, you had like a roster of like 16 characters. I want to say I might be exaggerating. It was probably like
There wasn't
four.
loads, was there?
You had like the
No,
tank.
there
You
was
had
a
the
few then.
tank guy who had like tracks but arms, and you had like the
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was like technological society of like robot people versus like it was like the movie Avatar, right? Like the
it
technological
was.
people
Yeah,
come into
yeah.
like the natives, and the natives had like a fire witch and a little like rodent-esque dinosaur thing that would
Like a
like bite and
sorcerer
spit acid.
dude.
Yeah, and then you had like the technological people who had this like kind of like Professor X in a floating like wheelchair type thing, and like the
Yeah, yeah,
and you had and I'm sure he was called Jaeger, the one who was just a tank. Like he was just a
yeah.
tank with like a robot body. But yeah, Battle Call Robots was very much like that kind of niche game from the late 90s that probably most of the people who follow us on Twitter will have like never heard of. Especially, and I'm over it. But the guy who called me senile for my review of what was it of Limbo, of like
Of
this
Limbo. Yeah, yeah.
3-year-old review of Limbo, where if I recall, I said it was good. I said it was good. I just said it's not. If you want a platformer, don't think of it as a platformer. Anyway,
Yeah.
the review called me senile and completely wrong because Limbo is the best game ever made, and no game will be it or something. Hope this dude's like joking, but yeah. Anyway, just showing how old and senile I am by referencing the Unholy War. If you want a game, uh, don't try and find a copy of the Unholy War. Just go look at Battle Call Robots because they've got the demo there on the Steam page. Release date isn't pending yet, which kind of makes sense from what we were saying to the devs when we were chatting with them. He's like, there's a lot of balancing and extra stuff, but we've got like the core of the game, and I think again it started as a a uni project as well. I think this was a uni project that had legs, and they've decided to keep what they've got and keep working on it. So
Yeah.
release date unknown, but demos there on the Steam, and yeah, check it out. Battle Call Robots by Yellowfall Games. I don't think we didn't play the next one. 1 to 2. The one
We
it's
didn't.
yeah, AI code. I think that's
Yeah,
how it's
this one
pronounced.
just looked really impressive, didn't it? Like it looked like. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm saying this, and we've said it for all of them. They all look impressive in their own way, but this one, like walking past it, there was a. It caught your eye, didn't it, when you were watching the gameplay and stuff, and it
it
had some
just
really
have
cool design elements.
having been at that museum a couple of days earlier and seen the Final Fantasy exhibit, and I don't mean this as like a compliment or a criticism, but I got very square soft vibes off the visuals.
Yeah,
It has
yeah,
that
definitely.
kind of art style, and maybe it's I hope it's like a maybe like an inspiration of the devs, and not again everyone's inspired by stuff, but it had that kind of look. Also, kind of like near Automata uh, look as well. It was a great looking game. Probably the best in game visuals I think of anything we saw at the event.
Probably, yeah. It looked, it did look really really cool. We didn't get to play it as you say, but even just walking past it, just watching other people play it, and it was very, it definitely caught the eye.
If I'd known it didn't have a demo on Steam, I might have stood in the queue to give it a go. But also, we got obviously we hung around it and watched because we were getting some footage of it because of how amazing it looked. So yeah, I mean, we can't talk
Hopefully,
much
we can
about
share
it.
that.
It looks. I'd be theorizing about how it played, but from what we watched, it felt very yeah, like neo. I don't know how to pronounce it. Near automata or automata. I forget where the stress is on those words. I'm gonna play the
Mm.
Ponzi I Live Abroad card and be like, "Yeah, I don't speak English now." But no, it might be just because I'm a Geordie and I didn't know, But yeah, looks great. Definitely want to watch AI Code. That's code with a K, all one word. You can find it on Steam.
Yeah,
It's so far not a lot of not a lot of information on it. Don't it's no. I mean, there's obviously they explain it in the on the Steam page, but you've also got no release date yet, so essentially early doors. But F me, it looks great. But for a game without a release date,
Really cool, yeah.
it has no right looking this good. Yeah, look up AI code on Steam and check it out. Move on to another very visually interesting game that we also didn't get to play, but we did get a chat with the dev, and it was not the first time. It was kind of cool and humbling that we met someone who actually knew us. Like, oh,
Yeah,
we've
who
got
interacted with us or seen us on social.
yeah. So sorry, it's bugging me. There we go. Sorry. Yeah. So there was a one, but that wasn't even the first guy. The room battle devs knew of us as well. We were chatting.
Yeah, they'd
It
yeah.
was really there was a few times that it happened, and this was the first time we'd actually like ventured into like the real world, and I think I've only ever like sort of mentioned maybe in passing that like I'm here in like the south of Spain. Like, we've mentioned a few times, like me living in Malaga. You're still in the northeast of English. Not, not a dig. I don't mean still. I mean like obviously we're clearly both from the northeast of English. Is what I mean by you're
Yeah, yeah.
still there. But yeah, it was weird to of all the devs and all the places to actually know that we've got like a large enough community that is not like location specific. We've never like specifically looked for like indie devs in our area, which sounds like one of the worst internet pop-up ads. But yeah, yeah, it was really lovely to meet people and go like, oh yeah, we've we've followed you for a while. Yeah, we know who you are. And we're like, oh, well then we don't. We could have just skipped the introductions. There was lots of stuff we'd seen that we were already aware of. Like, there's projects I'm like, I've seen them. I've seen, I've got ear close enough to the ground that there were a few projects that I'm like, I know that project, I know that project, I know that project. I've seen them online, like they're on our wish list kind of thing. But for it to go the other way and people to be like, oh yeah, I know who you are, and yeah, this next one was one of those lovely examples when we were chatting to um the dev from Poison Pill Games who makes V Gangsters, and this is a turn-based like deck building game with a lot of like a really awesome like mental art style. Like it was another one of these games where you're like, damn, like
Yeah.
the key art to it and everything when you're like walking past it at the event, like you couldn't miss it.
No. It was it stood out. I mean, again, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but once you actually go away and do some research on these games, you'll understand what we mean when we're talking about this. And this one had like this didn't look like any of the other games. This had its own very cool, um, clearly like quite jokey and humorous art style. Um,
But with like a
and
visual, like a
yeah,
kind of
we
like
didn't, as Joey
a,
said, we
a
didn't get to
comic
play
book
it, but it
style
looked really,
gravitas. Sorry, is there?
yeah, 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 yeah. And I just think it would. It looked like it would have been fun. And say it's just a shame we didn't get to play everything, but this is definitely one to keep an eye on because it just from the perspective of looking quite different, it would be worth having a look for.
Yeah. So yeah, again, didn't get to play that because we're actually too busy chatting to the dev and having our egos massaged for a little bit. We were just that, yeah, because we
Uh,
were all just we were just having a nice chat and not actually playing the game. But again, this is partly the reason we want to do this because we want to go out and like meet the people behind the games because it's the USP for the like for indie devs in general. Like, you don't have to be like social media stars to make your game, but when you're a small team, it's definitely worthwhile and something we've been covering in the marketing lab. It's worthwhile like fronting yourself as like a personality and like a representative for your own brand. I'm gonna kick myself for forgetting the lad's name because I shit with names. I am I'm so terrible with names. I've got a stack of business cards from the event to like put names to faces and projects. But yeah, lad behind Poison Pill Games. Uh, Apologies for forgetting your name, but your game's awesome. So folks should check out the Gangsters, as in like gangsters with the letters VE in front. You're not tracking that. The characters are vegetables. That's that's how it all works.
Yeah.
So jump onto the next one. It's another one we didn't get to play. This was towards the end of the day when we were running around trying to get some footage as well. But this is a Welcome to Imperium, I think it's pronounced. This looked a lot of fun as well. It was one
Yep.
because it was a like a multiplayer game. It was something that we did like hover around for a bit, wanting to like sit down and have a go of. But obviously, when you're waiting, I think it takes a little longer to have a blast of multiplayer games at these kind of events because you know you have larger groups of people and you tend to play for longer multiplayer because it has that kind of like one more round or we want to do better or I want to beat you kind of thing. So people are like less willing to step away. Maybe that's
Yeah. Maybe it's a larger crowd of people wanting to play it as well. You just there's a bit more competition maybe, and yeah, once they've played one round, as you say, they might want to play rounds 2 and 3 because there's the competitive element.
yeah. Can you quickly turn your camera on and off, Jim? You've slipped out of sync on our call. It's going to bother me. Big Purple J. That's your new nickname, by the way.
That better?
No, weird. We're gonna just have to live with it. Sorry, video viewers. Jimmy's sort of slipped out of sync, and I'm not sure why. Say something, and then your audio comes through later. Maybe the audio's. It's too late in the day to fix it now. We're gonna just have to live with it. Apologies. Watching this on the stream.
Just gonna have to deal with it, everybody.
Yeah.
Technology.
For podcast listeners, just imagine he's in sync. It's like Jimmy's the world's greatest
But you know
ventriloquist.
what? Just don't have to imagine anything because you don't.
Yeah, but now if
You're
I was
hearing everything
listening,
as
all I'd
it's
imagine
intended.
is that you're out of sync. Even
Maybe that'd make it more fun.
anyway, sorry. Back on to Welcome to Imperium. Yeah, this is it's a up to 4 player co-op game, which as you're going through like managing a hotel, the vibes I got from it were sort of like Overcooked in a hotel. If
Yeah.
I mean,
Certainly the aesthetic of it. Yeah.
it looked really fun. Obviously, the aesthetics there. It's got that cutesy one. It's coming out this year. There's a demo to play as well, so do go check it out. I can't spell it out for you, but it's by Tapioca Games, which is probably easier to spell. I'm not sure if Imperium's probably not spelled the way I'm pronouncing it, or at least the way people might hear it being pronounced. But yeah, we'll go have a look for that. Welcome to Imperium by Tapioca Games. Cooperative party game for 4 players, where you're in like a hotel having a blast as like some weird and wonderful characters. Again, big Overcooked vibes. Again, I'm not going to compare every game we saw to Overcooked, but we're both fans of that game, so the comparison is naturally going to come up and again and again. Bugger, I just hit. Apologies.
Yeah, it's become a it's become a popular aesthetic and style of game, I guess. But I mean, that's no bad thing. It's there's you still get retro pixel art style games, as we just discussed. There's the game that was looked really visually impressive and was kind of a had Final Fantasy Squaresoft type vibes to it.
Yeah.
So it's no bad thing. It's just a certain style that people have decided to go with, and it's an interesting one.
I mean, it looks nice. Like we said, all of these games look nice.
Hmm.
Yeah, they got Welcome to Imperium
Yeah, they
by
do.
Tapioca Games on Steam. Have a blast of the demo. The next one is one we actually, where you did play. I had a great chat with the dev at Midnight Munchies. This game is called
Yeah,
it's called One Button Bosses. Button spelled BTN, by the way, just to be clear. This is super unique. I think probably one of the more unique games. When we were talking about visiting the game museum and that game that was like an LED strip and you just had a joystick. This one sits in there of these kind of
yeah.
like
Well,
abstracted,
even it
interesting
was yeah,
experiences.
that's it. Yeah, yeah.
So it's a very
Just
like
a single button.
yep, that's it. You got your one button and you played it. I didn't. I just watched, but it was kind of like something that was like visually obvious enough, even from watching, that I think you're like on a track that just automatically a track that just automatically shoots the boss, and when you press the button, it just changes the direction you're traveling on the track.
It also slows you down and slows down how quickly you're shooting as well. So the
You want to press it as little as
strategy
possible.
is um, press it as little as possible, but avoid the boss shooting you back because you've only got 3 lives,
Right.
and then you have to try and defeat the boss in the quickest time possible. So it's weighing up how often do you let yourself be hit to keep the speed up to try and defeat the boss faster, but also not just doing that relentlessly because you will lose your 3 lives very very quickly. So for it being such a simple game, there was a lot of detail and sort of strategy to it, I guess.
They had a speed run going on as well, didn't they? They had a leaderboard at the event,
They did, yeah. So
and the dev was saying people were finding like emergent strategies of like knowing, like working out the opportune time to actually just take the hit.
yeah,
So yeah, this was a visually looks great as well. Different kind of
it
visuals to
did,
everything we've
yeah.
spoken about before. Very unique visuals. Very
Yeah,
simplified.
this one had very retro feel to it, didn't it?
Yeah, very retro. I mean, this is a game, and I said this to the dev. I'm like, and not disparagingly, but it'd be a great mobile game. Like, because you only have to just press one button to play the entire game. I was like, you could sit for hours just like tapping your phone. Like it would work great, it
Yeah,
would look great. I imagine in terms of like system requirements because of the like minimalist art style, it would be possible as well. Obviously, like the devs like I've got enough on my plate at the minute getting this out on Steam. Can't think of that right now, but if enough people check it out, One Button Bosses by Midnight Munchies, then I don't see any reason why a mobile port couldn't be on the cards, or even on Switch. Like the dev also mentioned, like
no, I think
consoles,
they'd probably go
consoles
down
and the
that route.
Switch would be great because you could just like sit there, like especially if you had the Switch in the little like kickstand mode, and you're just like, I mean, it looked more mentally taxing than this, but I'd love to call it like a hungover game. I used to do this all the time with the Telltale story games. Like some people hated them because
Mm.
you like decisions didn't really matter or whatever, and you have like dialogue choices and stuff like that. But those were great games for playing when you're just like lying sideways, but like no, and really hungover, and knowing that like, God, if I put a film on now, I'm gonna fall asleep. But if I put a film on where I've sometimes got to make decisions and like move the character around and make dialogue choices, I'll stay awake. And there's like every game's got a time and place. I think you could play this in like a very serious mode and really go for it, but I think it'd also be great in like on the Switch kickstand, just one controller in your hand, arm like drooped onto the floor as you're like sprawled over a couch, whether you're tired or recovering or whatever. Like there seems like there was a lot of like potentially different ways to play this, even though that the only way to play it is by pressing one button.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
One Button Bosses
No,
by
it was
Midnight
cool.
Munchies. So yeah, uh, it looked really popular at the event as well. Everyone at Guadalindie seemingly getting a kick out
Yeah.
of this one as well. Yep, we'll check it out. One Button Bosses, Midnight Munchies on Steam. I don't think there's a demo on there. No, there's not a demo on there, but check it out. Wishlisted. Keep an eye out for if a demo build coming up because I think you'll have a lot of fun with this one. Which brings us
Hmm?
to the last game that I'd like to talk about. Obviously, we only got so busy running around like filming stuff and talking to people. You'd be surprised how quickly like 10 hours goes by. Like we were initially
Yeah.
concerned like before we went to the event that like we'd like get everything done that we wanted to do and then like call it a day and leave early. And we were there from I think we got there like just as doors open to get some shots from outside and left just as like the last like award show finished at the end, the Gothies as they called them. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great. And again, like only got through like a tiny percentage of the game. Like it bought us on Patreon if you want us to send along a whole fucking film crew to the next one so we can actually like play all the games and see them and film them and chat to the devs and organize interviews and everything like that. But yeah, the last game we were able to get to was a Resistance 2040X. This one, I do remember the dev's name because solo dev, Julio. If I'm not mistaken, he lives in Germany but is Spanish. I was chatting away to him. This is a fighting game that immediately, funnily enough, we saw it. He explained how it worked, and we immediately likened it to I think Nidhogg and Street Fighter, which is what their blurb on their Steam page says. The objective is you have like it's
Yeah.
a 2 button, wasn't it? Was it 2 button fighting?
2 button, I believe. Yeah.
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 So it's two button fighting game. You might be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe it was 2 button. I'm racking my brains, but I know it was like a minimalist fighting game that's like really easy to pick up, but has like a lot of depth
It
as you
was
start to explore it.
because I remember thinking like, yeah, and thinking like it would be easy for anybody, regardless of any experience with fighting games, to be able to pick up and enjoy. It was like you could just jump straight into that.
But instead of just like killing your opponent, you have to get to the far end, like their side of the screen, like you do in Nidhogg, which I remember we played as part of
Yeah.
our podcast on indie fighting games. But Nidhogg, you have a sword, and it's about sword fighting. And then when you kill your opponent, you have like you run to the next screen over, so it kind of works like a tug of war. But whatever the opposite of a tug of war is,
Hmm.
like sumo, I guess you're constantly like killing them and then running onto the screen and kind of forcing them back to their front line, as it were. And eventually, when you get into the like into your opponent, a bit like rugby, really, you're getting like or gridiron or American football or whatever. You're kind of like working your way to their end zone, aren't you? By killing them and then advancing up the field,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then when you make it into the end zone, that's how you win, not by killing them. But yeah, we had a. I think you won this one though, didn't you? Of the
I think so. Yeah. This one. Yeah. You won the other two, and I got this one.
good. I just wanted to hear you say it. No, 2-1, 2-1 on the day in our best of three series. We're not even. The funny thing is, we're not even like competitive. It's just, I mean, not competitive when I win, but it's yeah. Well, we have this is also, I think, because we've obviously we're seeing this to a lot of devs. Like we grew up together. We've known each other for years. Like we've known each other since primary school. We've played a lot of games against each other. We're like beyond the point of like getting in a huff over winning and losing, and also like grew up with such different games that I think it never really mattered you know what I mean? Like we always just wanted to try and extract as much fun from the games because in most instances there was never any competition
Yeah.
because obviously you were like you grew up playing like PC games and I had like a console at my nan's house that we'd play after school and
Yeah.
they were very different games that we'd play against one another. So it was always like, here's this cool game. Should we play against each other? Well, yeah, but you've sank like 60 hours into it and I've never played. So it's like, is it really even worth like gloating over a victory when it's like, when you know there's not a competition to be had?
Yeah. Yeah, like the games you played, I wouldn't have been much good at because I never played them. And the games I played, you didn't play as much. So there was always that element of, yeah, we weren't, it's not like we were just absolutely, like we both had exactly the same games. I think, you know, platformer style games and those like Metroidvanias and things that you used to play. And I don't think I ever picked them up. I think the first sort of
They never
ones them I
were on
played were
PC.
probably when we first started doing. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I just never got around to playing them. So yeah, it wouldn't have been much competition at all.
Future Cop LAPD, the only one that had any kind of,
Oh yeah,
because that one worked on both, wasn't it? We both played it and both played the I can't remember the name of the game mode, and the guy had this stupid voice. It's like, this is Precinct Assault. There we go. Got it. Fucking got it.
yeah. And you could like you captured certain areas and built more
Yeah, it
little
had like a base
helpers or
building thing.
whatever
It
it
was
was.
halfway, but it was halfway between like a console shooter and also like RTSs, which we were both huge fans of. Anyway, getting sidetracked here. Resistance 2040X.
Yeah,
Great fun, and like obviously neither of us like we both like obviously like played like a lot of fighting games because like I had them on the consoles, but obviously like back in the day you'd only I mean I know there were single players but it wasn't quite the same like when when I was like playing games single player I wouldn't like get out like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. Obviously I've played them like more than you had because I owned them, but again these were the kind of games that we often played
yeah,
together. And this game, and I mean obviously it didn't show that I owned these games growing up because you beat me at this one, but it was kind of the thing like it felt like either of us could have won having both picked it up for this at the same time.
yeah.
And
It's very accessible.
it yeah, it was immediately fun. It wasn't like one of these things where I'm like, I don't think I know any of the moves. It felt like we were extracting a lot of fun out of the game right from the get-go. And just from chatting the dev, it was clear he was like he's a huge like fighting game. I mean, you don't you don't commit all this time to making a fighting game if you're not a fan, but if you get me, it's he's very into just not just fighting games, but also the culture. There was a lot of these like really cool like background effects where the entire like background disappears, and there's this really big like almost like old school Batman series effects. You know when it used to be like kapow and blam and all that
Yeah,
nonsense. It did that, but with like fighting game lingo. So instead of having like onomatopoeia that says like oh blam splat all that nonsense, it would like flash up with like as he was explaining to me. I'm like, oh, I didn't know. Like I was like I was in primary school when I played most of my fighting games, and at the time there wasn't this kind of like internet culture, or I didn't have access to the internet to like access it. Now I sound really fucking old, don't I? Remember when there wasn't the internet, Jimmy? Fucking hell. But yeah, like I didn't have access to this nonsense, so I was like, yeah, I didn't know there's like all this terminology. It's like, oh yeah, this is like all. It's marinated in like fighting game culture, whilst being really easy to pick up and play,
yeah,
and very instantly understandable for like every player.
yep.
But yeah,
Oh,
that
yeah,
was
that was
the
good fun. Very good
yeah, we
fun.
had a good laugh with that. Demos available for that online as well. Resistance 2040X or 2040X or 204X, however you want to pass your numbers. But yeah, good fun by Julio Quiroz or Yeah, just look up Resistance 2040X on Steam and have a blast of the demo. And yeah, I mean, ideally, if you can play with a friend, because I think that's where you're probably going to get the most enjoyment out of this one. But yeah, that takes us to the end of like the games we saw.
For sure.
There were way more that like obviously we could could name drop them, but I think we didn't get to see enough of them. But I would like to go through some of the ones we didn't get to sit and play, and maybe like demo them and stream them, and yeah, just showcase them. Obviously, we've got loads of footage. Those are the ones that we've got. Like we chatted to the devs, and we've got footage of, and we're gonna put together some like little mini snippets and videos of them, send them to the devs and stuff. So hopefully, you should see more content on those games first. Then hopefully we'll have time to move on to another one, unless unless anyone wants to invite us to any more events. We're obviously happy to attend. We had an absolutely great time. Like huge thanks to like the organizer, like Guadalindie and Malaga Jam, who folks who put this on, and it was just like it was just like loads of fun and great, like seeing like actual humans in the real world who are making indie games and not just like emailing and DMing folk. It's been amazing.
For sure.
Like
Something we'd like to do a lot more of.
I don't want to go full YouTuber and be like it was life changing, but like it was really good fun, and we had we had a great time, and like don't get me wrong, we were flipping knackered by the end of the day. Like kudos to all the like indie devs there who were like all the prep, making the games, 2 days of like 10-hour days and stuff like that. I mean, our work comes after with all the like content and extra stuff we've got to do now, but still, it's like so much like hard work and passion goes into this, and like actually chatting to people face to face. Like you really got to see it, like how not just how like proud everyone and happy everyone was with the projects, but like how like willing they were to share it and how willing they were to like listen to feedback. A lot of devs were like, what did you think of this? What did you think of that? What did you think of this? Like, tell me honestly. And like when I said like, oh, I didn't quite get this, or like I see what you're doing here, but for me I would have needed this for it to like work better for me. And they were like, oh yeah, yeah, great, like yeah, take that on board. Like none of them were like, well, no, that's wrong. Like they were like, okay, good to know. Thanks for like telling us.
Yeah, yeah. It was cool to see everybody, and like actually see the community, as you said, in real life, face to face, and actually be able to talk to them and discuss their projects and see just the general passion there is for this industry.
Yeah, yeah, it was absolutely wonderful. So that was, I know it's like only been like a week and a bit. Week and a bit. God, oh, I don't even know anymore. But yeah, that was just shortly after Guadalindie. Had like yeah, an excellent time. Huge thanks to everyone. Huge thanks to everyone who listened. Thanks to all the devs. Like yeah, I'm losing my mind over how much fun we did, and it was just like it was affirming. Is that the word? Affirming that we
Yeah,
reaffirming.
yeah.
Do we affirm or reaffirm? Oh, I'm losing. Yeah, it's
No, you can affirm.
just felt that like we're in the right community. Like this is what we should be doing.
Yeah, no, for sure. It was well worth going to. Very enjoyable. And hopefully we can get to more.
Yeah, and I mean either or, but no, just and, but also same time next year, hopefully. Uh, would love to go back if
Yeah,
they'll
that'd be
have
good.
us. So we'll leave it there. Thank you to Guadalindie. Thank you for listening and or watching. If you're watching, sorry that Jimmy's out of sync. If you're listening, you didn't see anything. And if you're new to us and what we do, we're on the socials. Just look for Indie Bandits. If you're listening to some podcast, you know what to do. Everyone tells you to do it, but it does absolutely massively help us out if you give us the highest number of stars you can, or at least the highest number of stars you think we're worth. But five's always nice if you're on such a platform. If you're watching this on YouTube, obviously, you know, like it, comment. But we don't want to play the metrics. This is not how we've built this tiny indie game community empire. It's about sharing. Just tell somebody if you know somebody who's into indie games and likes this kind of stuff. Just tell them. That's it. Word of mouth is what works. It works for indie games. It works for us. If this is what you're into, um, tell a friend. If everyone does that, well, tomorrow we'll be at your house thanking you with a box of chocolates and some flowers. Not everyone, maybe.
Well, you can. I'll refrain from doing that bit, but I will say thank you though.
Uh, Half committed there, Jim. But yeah, thank you so much, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Bye bye.
Bye.